trying to coddle him for? Let the man walk out, have some time to himself, sit down, soak it up, and come up with what he needs to do.
What you want? What you want? From here? Yeah, from here. Alright, so. Oh, man, y'all, let's go.
I've already made my peace with it, because I know that energy. I was that energy. I know exactly how it's going to turn out.
The news hit like a lightning bolt. It wasn't just another headline. It wasn't another rumor that people could brush off or scroll past. This was different. This was real. T.I.'s son, King Harris, the young man who had been in and out of the spotlight because of his family name and his own bold personality, was in the ICU after a shocking incident inside jail. The words intensive care and life-threatening injuries are not things any parent wants to hear about their child. And for T.I., a man who has built his life around music, fame, and family, it was the kind of nightmare that shatters everything. When the news first surfaced, people didn't even believe it. Fans thought it had to be another exaggerated story. But as confirmation came in, the shock turned into heartbreak. People online began posting prayers, using King's name in hashtags, flooding timelines with pictures of the young man smiling, laughing, performing, just being himself. For those who have followed his journey, this wasn't just about a celebrity's child. It was about someone they'd watched grow up in the public eye, someone they had rooted for, and now someone they feared might not make it out alive. King Harris has always lived under a spotlight he didn't ask for. As the son of TIandTiny, he was born into a world of cameras, expectations, and constant scrutiny. While most kids his age worried about fitting in at school or trying to figure out who they were, King was already being watched by millions. Every mistake he made, every word he said, became part of a bigger story about him and his family. That kind of pressure changes a person. For some, it crushes them. For King, it seemed to push him to rebel, to stand firm in being himself no matter the cost. But the journey hasn't been smooth. Over the years, King has made headlines for clashes, bold statements, and situations that often landed him in hot water. People said he was reckless, others said he was misunderstood. But through it all, there was always one constant: his family. TIandTiny, despite their own complicated history, stood by their son. They may not have always agreed with him, but they loved him fiercely, and they made sure the world knew it. That's what makes this moment so devastating. It wasn't just another rumor about King being involved in drama. This time it was life or death. According to reports, while serving time behind bars for a recent incident, King was involved in an altercation that spiraled out of control. Details are still unclear. Some say he was targeted, others believe it was a random act of violence. But what's undeniable is that the fight left him severely injured. By the time medical staff reached him, his condition was critical, and he had to be rushed to the hospital immediately. The thought of King lying in a hospital bed, hooked up to machines, fighting to breathe, broke something in people. This wasn't just gossip anymore, this was a young man's life. Fans who once criticized him, laughed at his antics, or judged him harshly for his choices suddenly shifted their tone. They posted messages of love, urging everyone to pray, reminding each other that at the end of the day, King was still just a young man trying to figure life out. Inside the ICU, things were tense. Doctors worked around the clock, and though the family kept details private, whispers began to spread about the severity of his injuries. Tiny was spotted arriving at the hospital, her face pale, tears streaming as cameras tried to capture her heartbreak. T.I. stayed quiet at first, refusing to speak publicly until he knew more. But those close to him described him as shattered. He wasn't the confident rapper, the TV personality, or the businessman people saw on stage. He was just a father, desperate for his son to live. It's hard to imagine the pain T.I. must have felt walking into that hospital room. The same son he once scolded for being too wild, the same boy he laughed with at family dinners, was now lying still, hooked up to machines, his future uncertain. For a man who has always carried himself with pride and strength, this was the one battle he couldn't fight with words or money. This was life reminding him that fame and fortune mean nothing when your child's life hangs in the balance. Social media exploded with anger and sadness. Many blamed the jail system, saying King should never have been in such a vulnerable situation in the first place. Others wondered if he had been deliberately targeted because of who he was. Inmates don't always see celebrity children as equals. Sometimes they see them as trophies. Hurting the son of a famous rapper could be seen as a way to gain power or respect inside those walls. And that possibility made people furious. Why wasn't he better protected? Why wasn't he safe? T.I. eventually broke his silence, and when he did, his words were raw. He didn't speak like a celebrity addressing fans. He spoke like a broken father. He begged for prayers, admitted his fear, and demanded answers. He said no parent should ever have to face this nightmare. No father should ever have to stand over his child's hospital bed wondering if he'll wake up. His plea touched millions. Even those who had never followed King's story before felt the weight of his pain. Other celebrities began chiming in too. Friends of the family posted messages of support. Artists who knew T.I. reached out publicly, reminding him he wasn't alone, that the industry and the community were standing with him. Fans lit candles, held virtual prayer circles, and flooded timelines with hope. It wasn't just about King anymore. It became a moment that reminded people how fragile life is, how quickly things can change. Behind the scenes, the Harris family was breaking. Tiny, who had already endured years of public battles with her husband and private struggles in her marriage, was now facing the worst fear any mother could imagine. She had been King's safe place, the one person he always leaned on, and now she couldn't protect him from this. Watching her son fight for his life left her crushed in a way words can barely describe. As days passed, small updates trickled out. Some claimed King was stabilizing, others said the situation was still dire. The lack of clarity only fueled the speculation. Was the family hiding the truth? Were they trying to stay strong while privately preparing for the worst? Every small rumor became a headline, and every headline made the Harris family's pain even more public. T.I., however, wasn't just sitting by quietly. Sources close to him revealed he was furious, not only at the system that allowed this to happen, but at himself. He replayed every moment in his head, questioning every decision. Could he have done more to protect his son? Could he have prevented this? Guilt weighed heavy on him, the kind of guilt only a father could carry when his child's life was slipping through his fingers. But even in the darkest moments, there was still hope. Doctors said King was a fighter, and those who knew him personally said the same. This was a boy who had grown up defying expectations, a young man who always stood tall no matter how much criticism he faced. If anyone could survive this, it was him. And that's what kept people praying, kept his family from collapsing completely. The bigger question now is what comes next. If King recovers, what will this experience do to him? Will it change the way he sees the world? The way he lives his life? For years, people have watched him push back against the shadow of his father, trying to carve his own path, even when it led him into trouble. But surviving something like this could either harden him or transform him. It could be the moment that changes everything. For TIandTiny, this incident may very well reshape their family forever. It's one thing to battle rumors, fights, or scandals, but it's another to nearly lose a child. The fear of almost saying goodbye to their son could either break them apart or bring them closer than ever before. And fans are holding their breath, waiting to see what direction their story will take. The final question that lingers is about justice. Who was behind the incident that landed King in the ICU? Was it just another fight that went too far? Or was he deliberately attacked because of who he was? T.I. has already made it clear he won't stop until he gets answers, and fans believe him. This isn't just about protecting King anymore. It's about protecting every young person who ends up in a system that's supposed to rehabilitate, but often ends up breaking lives instead. For now, all eyes remain on that hospital room, on King's fight for survival, and on T.I.'s fight for justice. The story isn't over. It's just beginning, and the outcome could change everything. For King, for T.I., for their family, and for everyone who has been watching this tragedy unfold in real time. Because at the end of the day, Behind the fame, behind the scandals, behind the headlines, this is just a father begging for his son to live. And that is something anyone can understand. Something that cuts deep no matter who you are.